Hey, need some background noise? I've got half an hour's worth right here for you. 6 stories worth, actually. Get cozy and let's hop right into it. Story 1. Found out my male 34 wife, female 33, celebrated 1 year relationship anniversary with her boyfriend from work. Typing this on the phone, so I apologize in advance for any errors or misformatting. Here's the background to my situation. My wife and I have been married for almost 5 years now. We had a very rough start to our marriage and it's continued to have its ups and downs, but I've always done my best to address her grievances and try to make the relationship better. We have made arrangements in the past to explore with other people, but we both mutually decided to stop that. Recently, almost a month ago, I caught snippets of a text from affair partner, a much younger guy in his mid-20s, when my wife accidentally left it unlocked in front of me. Back when I found this, I thought it was just a friend from work. She had named his contact as one of her female co-workers, which, in hindsight, I believe was to deceive me. When this happened, I didn't confront her about it. I didn't think it was much. To me, they were just exchanges of babes and kisses, miss yous and love yous from a close female friend. However, yesterday, I found out the truth through her iPad, which had an older passcode. The affair partner was a guy that she met at work, and I found a note she had drafted of a very intimately written happy birthday message to him. And in this message, I found out several things. She had been staying later and later at work, but in reality, she was using the time to see him. On the day of her 1 year anniversary with him, she carefully orchestrated a fight between us over something silly. She said I had a wrong tone or I raised my voice at her. It was all done to have an excuse to be distant from me, to give him attention for the day, and maybe even go see him if our orchestrated fight went well enough. I also found out in this note, mind you, this note was dated a year back, they have been on several dates, grocery runs, but most important of all, she reminisces the kisses and I love yous they shared on his bed at his apartment. Since this was more than a year ago, only God knows how much has happened since then. I do not believe that she intends this relationship to be serious with her affair partner, and neither does he. They are probably in it for the fun and excitement. It just breaks my heart and soul to think I was naive enough to believe her when she said I was her special and perfect husband. I now know it was just love bombing me. All of this shows me that back in 2025, where she let me get everything I wanted to buy, was perhaps not out of love and happiness for her husband, but rather guilt. My wife, if I can still call her such, is a very violent, aggressive, and narcissistic person that refuses to admit fault. I will confront her later today since it's still early in the morning right now. I am already expecting her to deny it, lie, throw or break stuff, shout at me, and cry. Also, at the same time, be indifferent, push the blame on me, and threaten to leave me. There have been moments that I have been physically assaulted, shouted at, and had objects thrown at me. As a man and as a human being, I feel very ashamed of myself. I am in my mid-30s and, quite frankly, just tired of it all. A part of me is thinking, just accept it, and another part of me is thinking, just let it all go. Show her the door and divorce her. Now I'm just stuck. I don't know what to do in this situation or what to expect in the future. I was truly hoping this year of 2026 to be the year things changed. I didn't expect it to be this kind of change though. I apologize for the wall of text, and if you're still reading, thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening. We'll keep you all updated later as to how it goes. Additional note, I'm just so tired, already getting closer to my 40s. Is it worth it to spend the rest of my life unhappy and miserable with her? Or should I be unhappy and miserable alone? I don't know what to do anymore. Damn, OP. First off, I'm sorry you're going through this. It's one of the deepest betrayals one can experience, and no one thinks it will happen to them until it does. It's not me if I'm assuming too much here, but OP mentioned their wife is physically and emotionally abusive. Man or woman, being on the receiving end of abuse degrades your self-esteem down till nothing's left, and abusers use that to make you stay when their antics escalate. I can tell you this, you are not some unlovable old man approaching 40. You have so much life left in you, and the only way your life could be over is if you choose to stay with your wife. Divorce her, cut all contact, and focus on yourself. After being in a relationship, especially an abusive one, we forget who we are independently from the relationship. Get back in touch with yourself separate from your wife, and take time to heal. You'd be surprised how much of a good companion you can be to yourself. Especially since there is physical abuse involved, I do not recommend trying to make amends. No amount of sorry can come back from the damage that causes. Do your best, stay safe, and Please, please, please prioritize yourself for once in your life, OP. You deserve it. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister-in-law's husband to stay in the bridal suite while we were getting ready? For my wedding day, we rented a hotel suite in the city. I paid for hair and makeup for all my bridesmaids, and as a courtesy, I also paid for my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law. I'm not close to my sister-in-law, but she's very close to my husband, so I included her. On the morning of the wedding, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law arrived late because my sister-in-law and her husband had been on a beach trip. When they arrived, my sister-in-law brought her husband into the suite with his clothes to get ready for the wedding later, which surprised me because she didn't mention anything about bringing him with her. All three of them sat on the couch and her husband stayed there on his phone. I texted my husband asking if he was supposed to stay and get dressed there. He didn't know either. I told him this was meant to be a woman-only space since all of us were wearing robes that open easily and our underwear was visible. I asked my husband to tell his sister that her husband could wait in the hotel lobby, but she refused. She was also against the idea of him driving back alone to our house to get ready with my husband and groomsmen because she didn't want to risk him getting lost. He's from another country, Puerto Rico, while we're from the Dominican Republic. This doesn't make a lot of sense though, since he's traveled all around the Dominican Republic many times on his own. She got upset and tried to leave, but the hair and makeup artists convinced her to come back since it was already paid for. She got her hair and makeup done, and then all three of them left anyway and waited in the lobby. They even ended up getting dressed in the lobby bathroom, even though my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were allowed to stay in the suite if they wanted to. My mother told me privately that she thought it was rude to bring a man into a room where only women were getting ready. So, am I the a-hole for not allowing him to stay there? Was I being inflexible? She was clearly very upset about the whole thing, and understand maybe she didn't want to have him sit alone for hours in the lobby while we were getting ready, but I didn't know what else to do. You are not the a-hole, OP. Your mother is correct. It's rude to make a whole room of people uncomfortable, just so an adult man doesn't have to be alone. You already knew the reasoning of him getting lost was a bunch of BS, because even if he didn't know the area, he has both a phone and could stay in the general area or lobby. Now, for addressing the emotionally immature sister-in-law. These sorts of people make their problems everyone else's, and they always expect everyone else to compensate. Very simply put, don't. Your own happiness and peace will be completely trampled if you try to maintain the peace. I would suggest you keep most correspondence through your husband and minimize your time spent with these people going forward. Their drama doesn't have to become your drama. Make sure to have a discussion with your husband once you're back home about their behavior. Get his side on it and try to be on the same page, hoping he won't enable it and go against you, but you'll only know how he feels about it by talking to him. Avoid any lengthy discussions with them. Be polite and maintain your peace. All the best, OP. Story 3. I, 23F, met my boyfriend's, 25M, work wife for the first time, and I'm devastated. So, throwaway account because this is personal drama and I don't want all my friends knowing about this just yet. I have been with my boyfriend for 5 years now, and he's been at his current job for a few years. We'll call him Jake. I've never met any of his co-workers until last night, but there's one in particular who we will call Amy. He sometimes does favors for her, fixing her car, going to her house to fix stuff around her house, etc. And I was never really concerned because he told me all his co-workers are a lot older than him. However, one night while he was asleep, his guy friend kept blowing up his phone. I answered it to let him know Jake and I were sleeping, so please stop calling. Before I put the phone back down, I noticed 5 unread text notifications from Amy. I guess some of the spam notifications were from her. One of these said, "Great Jake, now everyone thinks we are effing." This really concerned me. So, the next day after Jake got home from work, I asked about it. He said that both him and Amy were late for work that morning, so everyone probably assumed that and it was just a joke. I thought it was a weirdly unprofessional joke and expressed my discomfort. He invited me to the bar with him and his co-workers that night so I could meet her and see it was nothing to worry about. It did not soothe my nerves at all. Turns out Amy is not a lot older than him. She's only 3 years older and super pretty. The entire night, she was all over him, touching him, leaning on him, putting her arms around him, and even kissed him on the cheek, and he acted like it was normal. They were constantly teasing each other. It was in that middle schooler who doesn't know how to properly flirt yet kind of way. She told me all about how she loves him like a brother, and also told me she's had sex with half of their other co-workers, and that she got that next morning off work because she sent a co-worker nudes to get him to cover for her. Later on, she started crying and sobbing at the bar, actual tears, because she's so lonely and wants someone to love her, and my boyfriend ended up having to comfort her. I am just unsure what to do or say. My boyfriend kept acting like this was normal, that he wasn't doing anything wrong by entertaining this behavior. I can't ask him to cut her off. They're on the same unit and they have to work together. I literally do not know what to do about this, but I'm just disgusted, knowing this has been going on these years that he's worked with her. How can I set boundaries when they're forced to be around each other all day, all the time at work? There's an update to this story, so let's read that next before giving input. So, update time. I did end up talking to Jake. I struggled finding a good time to bring it up because we ended up being invited on a spontaneous trip with our friends shortly after I made my post. But I ended up talking to him when we had a moment alone at the hotel. I explained how those behaviors made me feel, and he told me he wanted to discuss this, but wasn't sure how to bring it up either since we didn't talk about it when it happened. I was so emotionally defeated the night we got home from the bar that I went to sleep without a word. Anyways, Jake told me that he was also completely caught off guard by how Amy was acting at the bar. He said that while she did make odd comments every now and then, she had never physically done anything until that night, and he let their other female co-worker know he was uncomfortable with how Amy acted at the bar. His co-worker agreed and said she would not schedule him with Amy anymore since she's the one that manages the schedule. I mentioned in my last post that Amy was constantly boasting about sleeping with a bunch of men and sending them pictures or whatever. I interpreted that as she's trying to tell him she's down to do anything with anyone, including him. She's telling him she's interested. She's telling him she likes having sex. Jake, however, interpreted the flirty comments as her personality because she was that way with everyone, and interpreted the sleeps with a bunch of men boasting as, I'm not interested in you personally though, which is why he didn't find it odd. You know how when you start talking to someone of the opposite sex, they'll casually slip in a mention of their girlfriend/boyfriend as a way to let you know they're already taken and are only interacting with you platonically? He thought it was like that, and that was why she kept mentioning whoever she was seeing at the time. During our conversation, Jake reassured me that he loves me and only wants me. He apologized for not resolving this sooner and that he just felt super awkward at the bar when he realized what she was doing. He didn't know how to react. He mentioned that he would never do anything with Amy or anyone like Amy, and that he found her promiscuity and emotional instability to be unattractive. He believed that the reason she suddenly started being so handsy with him that night at the bar was because I was there, and that must have made her lash out. He promised it had never happened before that. After this conversation, and him showing me his text from his coworker stating he won't be scheduled with Amy anymore, I felt a lot better. Until Jake told me he wanted to talk one day. He said that even though he wasn't scheduled on the same shifts as Amy anymore, she started switching shifts with people to work with him. Because of that, he started applying to jobs and later on let me know he got accepted to be a field technician at Redacted for Privacy. He put his 2 weeks in at his current job and now he only has 1 week left until he starts. It's a field he's more interested in, has better pay, and obviously Amy won't be there. Overall, I'm currently happy and feel a lot better that he cut her and soon that entire work environment out of our lives. We've been talking about a lot since then. We discussed working on better communication and better enforcement of our boundaries even when it's awkward. I know this update is going to make a lot of people displeased. Most responses wanted me to end our relationship. But I'm happy with where things are going currently. Thank you again to everyone who responded, except the few who kept accusing me of being AI. Oh, thank goodness, OP. That first post sounded incredibly bad, but the update confidently convinced me that your boyfriend only has eyes for you. The emotional outburst at the bar just makes me wonder, how can people act like this? In her head, was this some sort of last-ditch effort power play? Thinking about it more, she probably went all out to damage Jake's relationship with OP and create a divide between them. Amy is a very good manipulator, and distancing yourselves from her is the only safe course of action to take. I just hope Amy doesn't try anything else before Jake's at his new job. Be vigilant, and I hope things keep getting better for you two. Take care, OP. Story 4. I, 27F, accidentally had my baby in my friend's car, 31F. Now, she and her husband don't want to speak to me. How do I fix this? I'm very aware this sounds ridiculous, but I'm so tired of worrying about this. I need some outside perspective. This all happened almost 2 weeks ago now. I was almost 38 weeks pregnant then. My partner left for an afternoon to help out her brother, which we were both fine with. She was only a 1.5 hour drive away, and neither of us saw this coming. And my friend Alice offered to come spend the day with me so I wasn't alone. Honestly, it was really nice to have her there. We just watched watched some movies and hung out, and even though I was so uncomfortable through the day, I didn't consider I might actually be going into labor. I had been feeling discomfort for ages. At some point, we did realize this was the real deal, and I called my wife. We considered waiting until she got back, but things started to get real very fast, and I asked Alice to drive me to the hospital. She was fine with this, I think. We didn't fully make it to the hospital, and I ended up having my daughter in her husband's car. We're both fine, luckily. I had a few complications, which are now okay again. Our baby is beyond perfect, and though my wife is having a hard time with having missed her birth, we have a wonderful tiny human to focus on. Things have been really messed up with Alice and her husband, though, and I don't know how to solve it. 2 days after all that happened, I sent her a message thanking her again for everything she had done, and told her, lighthearted but sincere, to please send me a bill for having the car cleaned. She didn't reply for a while, and in the end just liked the message. I've messaged her a few times since, and she hasn't replied. And then her husband sent me a message saying not to message her, and congrats on the baby, but thanks for effing up his car. I feel so lost, and please don't get me wrong. Of course my priority is with my little family right now, but this does keep crossing my mind. This is so unlike her. Her husband and I were never the closest. I don't like how he speaks to her sometimes, but still we're friendly. I don't know how to solve this. That I just traumatize her so much and need to leave her alone? Do I keep trying? I'm so grateful for all she's done that day. Edit. Thank you all for the replies. This is quite overwhelming, so I hope it's okay I do this here. I'm going to try and reach out to her again, but not through text. Or maybe I can ask one of our mutual friends to meet up with her. I don't know yet, but going to try and check in on her in some way. Also, we planned to pay them back since this happened. No worries. Very aware that I messed up their car in a big way. Thank you truly for all the replies. I got a lot of great advice/insights, and I'm gonna figure out my next steps. Edit 2. I've reached out to her and apologized once again for everything I've put them through, both car and trauma-wise. I said, once more, that I'd really like to pay to fix all of this, regardless of the cost. Or, if they want, I can try to reach out to see some professionals and try to sort everything ourselves. Anything to make it right, as well as asking if they want me to rent them something in the meantime. Though I think my sincerity in my first message to pay was clear, I don't want to take any chances. I will add that any other message I had sent her was very serious/worried. I never joked about paying. Thank you all for your comments. I feel awful about what I did to their car. I'll make it right, as we were planning to, but try to be more proactive about it. This all has been quite overwhelming, but very needed. Thank you for taking the time to reply. I'm gonna sleep now. It's been an emotional day. Edit 3. She's deleted and blocked me now. I'm at a loss. I'll continue trying to make this right. I'm planning on reaching out to some places to get some estimates and contact insurance. We're taking this very seriously, I promise. Although I appreciate all you guys so much for helping me see how badly we dealt with this, I really need to get away from this post for a bit. Thank you all loads, and good night. In my opinion, this is another clear-cut instance of you did nothing wrong. Labor starts when it wants to start. You can't just wait around for it to happen. Life goes on. The best doctors can do is predict, but life is inherently unpredictable. If you're a responsible adult with the means of transportation visiting an incredibly pregnant woman, are you just going to stand by while a friend goes through labor? You've even offered to pay for the damages caused, which I've read in the comments are quite expensive. The top comment mentions that they'll likely need a forensic cleaning service that'll bill a few $1,000s at least. Otherwise, they could be looking at mold developing in their car. Of course, I understand how that's frustrating. However, as someone who's a childhood abuse survivor, my alarm bells were going off in my head when OP mentioned she doesn't like how Alice's husband speaks to her. If it's concerning you in public, it's almost guaranteed to be worse in private. Him controlling your communications is another red flag, and I can't help but agree with the comments saying that this could be an excuse to cut off and further isolate Alice from her support network. The best thing you can do, OP, is put money aside to help just in case they come around or you talk to them again in the future. Focus on you and your baby, but keep your communication lines open for Alice if she decides to reestablish contact in the future. I hope you and your new family member have a great life, OP. Story 5. My 36M wife 34F fell deep into conspiracy theories and online hate groups. Is there any saving our marriage? I, 36M, have been married to my wife, 34F, for 6 years. We have a 4-year-old daughter, and I really don't want to divorce, but I'm starting to feel like I've run out of options. When we first met, my wife was a kind, brilliant, and outgoing person. Over the past few years, though, she's changed in ways that really scare me. She's become very involved in online conspiracy spaces and online hate groups. She now spends hours every day scrolling and arguing online. It's like she's living in a different reality. She hasn't held a stable job in about 3 years. She'll take on part-time work, but ends up quitting or getting fired after a few months. Meanwhile, I've become the sole provider and have also taken on most of the parenting. Our daughter loves her mom, but my wife often seems distracted or disengaged, and it breaks my heart to see that. Another issue is she's become more racist over time. It started as an obsessive dislike of a certain celebrity, but it's turned into outright racist comments, particularly towards women of color. She's lost several friendships because of it, and even her family has started to distance themselves. They still check in on me and our daughter, but they've made it clear they don't know how to reach her anymore. I've begged her to try therapy. She actually did for a few months once, and for a little while, I saw glimpses of the person she used to be. But she quit, and everything went back to the way it was. I'm emotionally exhausted and worried about the environment our daughter is growing up in. I don't want her picking up these beliefs or thinking this level of disconnection is normal. That said, I'm also terrified of what divorce might do to her. I always believed in trying everything before walking away, and I don't want to feel like I gave up too soon. That's why I'm thinking about asking my wife to go to couples therapy. Maybe she'd be more open to it since it won't be just her. My question is, how do I even bring this up? Would it be wrong to tell her that I'm considering divorce if she refuses? I don't want it to sound like a threat. I just want her to understand how serious things have gotten. I love her and want to believe there's still a way forward, but I can't keep doing this by myself. If anyone has been in a similar situation with a partner who's fallen deep into conspiracies or become resistant to therapy, how did you approach it? I really want to try everything I can before making such a painful decision. There's a not so great update to this story, so let's brace ourselves for it. I'll try to keep this update short. I wanted to say thank you to everyone who took the time to comment and message me. Some of you helped me accept a reality I had been avoiding for a long time. My soon-to-be ex-wife was not going to get better, and I had to act to protect my daughter. I also want to specifically thank those who pointed me to the QAnon casualties sub. Reading other families' stories and seeing how similar the patterns were was incredibly validating. It helped me understand that this wasn't something I could love or wait my way out of. I took the advice of some commenters and started documenting my ex's neglect of our daughter. I also took notes of her racism and extreme beliefs before reaching out to a divorce lawyer. I checked on our joint bank accounts as advised and discovered that she had been withdrawing large sums of money from a joint account we opened early into our marriage for family vacations and such. We had discussed using this money to eventually set up a college fund for our daughter when she was born. When I confronted her, she initially denied taking the money. When I demanded she show me where the money went, she went on a long rant about creating a better world. She admitted she had donated money to organizations like TPUSA, claiming they would create better schools and keep kids safe. She had also spent a significant amount on designer handbags, shoes, and clothing that she had hidden from me. The craziest thing is, she was also being scammed by someone that she had met through some royal gossip subreddit, who claimed to have hired a private investigator to expose Meghan Markle. Apparently, this person would send her negative articles about Meghan Markle and claim that the private investigator had discovered this information and sent it to the press so my wife would send more money. She had told me all of this as if it were completely reasonable and saw nothing wrong with it. I told her I was filing for divorce, and at first she thought I was joking, but then she exploded at me and began throwing things while ranting about me breaking up the family. A glass cup she threw hit me in the head. I left the house bleeding and went to my neighbors, who called the police. She had trashed the kitchen by the time the police showed up, and they arrested her after I explained what happened. I applied for and was granted a domestic violence restraining order, along with temporary custody of my daughter. My wife currently has supervised visitation only. She's facing a misdemeanor criminal charge related to the domestic battery incident, which is being handled in criminal court alongside the ongoing divorce proceedings. She's currently living with a former coworker, and her family has reached out to express support for me me and my daughter. I am in the middle of divorce proceedings, and my lawyer believes I have a strong case for sole custody. This isn't how I ever imagined things ending, but I'm grateful I listened to the advice here when I did. My priority now is my daughter's safety, stability, and emotional well-being. Thank you to everyone who helped push me to act. I'm speechless, OP. It's ironic that being assaulted is the best way to get your child safe, but that's how the court system works. I'm no expert by any means, but she seemed to get addicted to the feeling of anger. Morally justified anger spews some of the worst vitriol I've ever seen. Alternatively, maybe the hate group for the celebrity gave her a sense of belonging, and it just evolved from there. You are the people you surround yourself with. We could probably speculate all day as to the reason, but at the end of the day, you can't help people that don't want help. Protect your daughter and try to focus only on the two of you. Maybe reconnect with the mother's family since they seem to be level-headed. It's especially important to have a support group in tough times like these. Therapy for your daughter to help her process the separation is also something you should look into, but one step at a time. Take it easy, OP. Now, story 6. Am I the a-hole for telling a woman at the gym to stop filming because I kept ending up in her videos? I think we already all know the answer to this, but let's read anyway. 31M, go to the same gym most mornings before work. It's a normal chain gym, not one of those influencer gyms, but people still record sets sometimes. There are signs about not filming other members without consent, but it's not like it never happens. A few weeks ago, this woman, I'll call her Jenna, started setting up a tripod near the cable machines. I didn't care, I'm not trying to police anyone. I just did my workout and stayed out of the way. But then, I kept noticing I was showing up in her videos anyway in the background. One day I was doing lateral raises and her phone was pointed straight through the mirror so you could see a big chunk of the floor behind her. I only noticed because I could literally see myself in the mirror on her screen when I walked past. I'm not saying she was doing it on purpose, but I also don't want to be in some stranger's videos at 7 a.m. when I'm half awake and sweaty. The first time I said something, I tried to keep it casual. I waited until she was between sets and said, "Hey, I think I'm in the background of that. Would you mind adjusting it a bit?" She sighed, moved it slightly, and said she was just recording her form. A week later, it happened again, and this time I said more directly, "I'm not comfortable being in your videos. Can you point it away from the main floor or keep it tighter?" She got annoyed and said if I'm uncomfortable, I can work out somewhere else because it's a public gym. That's when I got frustrated. I told her it's not public, it's a private business, and I'm not the one filming. She rolled her eyes and walked away. So I went to the front desk and asked what the actual policy is. They told me filming is allowed, but if someone doesn't want to be in your shot, you're supposed to adjust. They also told me staff can step in if it keeps being an issue. I told them I'd already asked her twice. They went over and spoke to her. After that, she cornered me near the lockers and said I was a creep for watching her, that I'm trying to control women at the gym, and that now she feels targeted and anxious to come in. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I escalated it too far. I just don't want to be in somebody's content. On the other hand, I also see how going to staff can look like a bigger move than just letting it go. Am I the a-hole? Definitely not the a-hole, OP. She's absolutely playing up some supposed victimhood to intimidate and manipulate you. You went about it calmly, and when she refused to listen, you went to the staff instead of continuing to attempt to argue with her. She's not following the rules of the establishment. She could have avoided a talking to by just not doing it. Maintaining your boundaries only makes you an a-hole to people who are used to trampling over others. Second guessing yourself is natural, but this is a definitive not the a-hole with the context given. Keep staff informed to prevent any funny business, and make sure not to compromise your health journey just because of some rude influencer. Hoping you don't have to have another conversation with her again, OP. That's it for this video. My last upload did super well, so I'm going to keep making these where I can between other content. Subscribe if you liked, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Bye bye.